My name is Jem and I didn't plan an intro for this video, like always. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of reflecting on 2017. I realised I read quite a few books, quite a few books, so I thought I would kind of landmark or flag post where I am in this current moment and talk about the books that I absolutely love at the moment, that I would consider my favourite books of all time. Then I thought I would film the exact same video at the end of the year and kind of see how this list has evolved, or if it hasn't, maybe just talk about why these books are still my favourite books. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books, and they each have their own category, because when I came to this list I had so many books on these shelves. These are the books that I have read. I have a shelf over there of books that I haven't read. So I was looking at these shelves and I was really overwhelmed because I love so many books on these shelves. So I decided to break my favourite books into categories, the first being literary. This past year, even like these past 6 months, pretty much when I turned 17, I realised that the reason I am in a reading slump, because I've been in a reading slump for about 18 months, around July, for 18 months I've been in a reading slump, and I realised it's because I wasn't reading in the right genre anymore. So I kind of left YA behind a little bit. I still read YA, but I kind of left it behind as my niche and the books I gravitate towards in the bookstore, and instead focused on literary, and my life kind of changed. I made this decision because earlier in 2016 I read The Messenger by Marcus Zusak. I love this book. I've talked about it a couple times on this channel, I feel like. Yeah, I think I have. This book is really hard to describe, and I feel like the blurb is so vague on purpose. It's one of those books that I feel like you should not, read like reviews, look at spoilers, don't do anything going into this book. Read the blurb and go into it. Basically it follows this man called Ed, who is a cab driver in this kind of backwater town. And he's a bit of nothing. Like, his mum's like really nasty to him because he's a disappointment. He's just kind of a shadow of a man, he describes himself as. So one day he starts receiving these cards after he accidentally thwarts a bank robbery. And these cards have instructions and locations on them that he has to follow, and he doesn't know who's sending him the cards, why he has to do the things he's been asked to do. All he knows is that he feels compelled to do them. This book is incredible. Marcus Zusak, obviously the author of The Book Thief. It's just so good, so good. I recommend it, and nobody talks about this. It's so good, guys. Seriously, give it a read. I also forgot to mention that in this list I'm not including 2 series. First one's Harry Potter. Nothing's comparable to Harry Potter. And the second one is Scott O'Gree Pleasant. For me personally, that book holds such a special place in my heart. That series carried me through my childhood. It carried me through some really rough parts of my life. So I feel like I can't compare anything to Scott O'Gree Pleasant and Harry Potter. So that's why they're not in this list. The second category is history. So for those who don't know, I love history, particularly 20th century history, although I kind of just love anything to do with history. So of course I have a historical category. This does not include historical fiction, but my favourite history book of all time is 13 Days by RFK. For those who don't know, Robert Kennedy was JFK's brother, and he is possibly my biggest hero. I love RFK. I feel like as a public speaker, as a politician, as a person, I just absolutely adore him. This is his memoir following the 13 days of the Cuban Missile Crisis, which is described as basically the pinnacle of the Cold War. It happened in 1962, so the war had been going on for about 10 years, went on for about 25 afterwards. Basically, it could have caused a global Holocaust, and Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy, and this group called the XCOM basically avoided like nuclear war World War III, whatever you want to call it. And this memoir is so compelling, I'm actually rereading it. This is great for history students as well, because at the back it has a lot of documents and an index and some really good acquired readings to assist you with reading this. So good. RFK is so compelling and I love this memoir so much. The next category is classics, and I have always loved classics. Even before I got into literary books, classics have been very, very near and dear to me, and for those who have watched any of my videos before, this book will come as no surprise. Of course it's a Hemingway book. It is A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. I love this book with everything in me. I have absolutely beaten this book to near death, but I love it so, so much. It follows a man called Frederick who is drafted into the war. He falls in love with a woman called Catherine, and it's about their love story, and it feels very real. Frederick is kind of like, there's a bit of a meme amongst Hemingway books, so all his male characters are the same with different names. But I feel like Frederick just is something more, and I think that something more is just human. His reactions to the war, his reaction to his emotions with Catherine is just so beautiful because it is so realistic, and I feel for Frederick in a way that I don't feel for a lot of characters. I've talked about it before, I read predominantly for writing style and not for pretty much anything else. Characters plot well and pretty much at all. And this book made me want to appreciate characters more, because this is the pinnacle of character development, I would say. If you have not read a Hemingway book, I strongly suggest this one. Again, another meme amongst Hemingway books is that, or a running theme I should say instead of a meme, is that nothing happens. If you want something to happen in your book, I do suggest this one. It's so, so good. I cannot recommend it enough. The next is a YA book, and this was really difficult for me because, like I said, a lot of these books on my shelves are YA. So I have an overall YA fave, and then I have a couple of subcategories. So my overall YA, I have talked about this book before, I love it so much. It's Unwind by Neil Shusterman. I feel like this is one of those books that had its heyday a couple of years ago and then dropped off the face of BookTube. I want to bring it back because it is so, so, so good. In the same vein of Hemingway, these characters are absolutely delicately and detailed, and they're just so, I don't even know what adjectives I'm using at this point or what I'm trying to say. This book is amazing. It takes place after something called the Heartland War, which was fought between pro-life and pro-choice armies. The solution, or the resolution those two armies met in order to stop this Heartland War, was to do retroactive abortion. So you can no longer abort the fetus in the womb, but once you give birth to that child, you can do a retroactive abortion through the process of unwinding. And that basically means that you separate their body parts, their organs, and it goes to other people. The body and the spirit of the person still technically exists, just in a separated state. I love it. I think this book is so good. The characters are so funny. I love Connor with everything in me, and the whole cast is just, you want to know more about every single one of them. I would read a book 10 times the size of that, like the most minor of characters. I just think they're so cool, and I would 100% give this a read. The next book in this kind of YA category is like a sci-fi or a fantasy kind of novel. I don't really read much of either of those, so I put them together and came up with The Martian by Andy Weir. I froth this book and I hate sci-fi. I hate pretty much anything to do with science. Unfortunately, I'm just not good at it and I think it's boring. That's just my opinion. But I do love space. I love the universe, I love the galaxy. I cried when I watched the solar eclipse here in Australia. I had to get up at 3 AM to watch it on NASA's live YouTube channel. Like, I love space. So this follows a man called Mark Watney, who is on a reconnaissance mission in Mars. Not a reconnaissance mission, that's when you go get someone. He's on like a collecting materials mission to Mars, and a superstorm hits and his crew believes him to be dead when really he is stranded and injured in Mars. So it's about him colonizing Mars and trying to survive, basically. It's so good, it's so funny. I accidentally bought the Young Readers edition so it doesn't swear, so it's not as funny. But Mark Watney is so relatable and I love this book so much. The movie is really quite good, and it has Sebastian Stan in it, and Jessica Chastain, and I love those two people so much. The next one I have here is a standalone book, so this one instantly clicked in my mind. I tried to think of other books on the shelves that I could put in this standalone category that could like rival this book, and I just couldn't. Like, I generally cannot fault this book at all. It's Afterworlds by Scott Westerfeld. I rave about this book a lot, so I'll keep it brief. Basically, you might be able to tell, the book is separated into white and black parts. The white parts follow a girl called Darcy, I think? Yeah, Darcy. Follows a girl called Darcy who is a writer, and she wrote a book for NaNoWriMo, sent it off to a publisher and got published. So she moves upstate and she's really struggling. She's struggling with her sexuality, she's struggling writing her new book, she's struggling to pay rent, to eat, to live. And then the black parts follows the book she wrote, and that is just the coolest idea ever. Both parts are equally as mesmerizing. I just think this is a book that I've heard next to no one talk about, and it's so offensive to me because it's so good and worthwhile. Please read it. My second to last book on this list is my favorite trilogy. And again, this was the first book that popped into my mind, and I couldn't find anything that could rival it. It is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children trilogy by Ransom Briggs. I think this world is so developed, and I have never read a book so captivating. This again had its hot minute back in the day because of the multimedia aspect of it. But even without the pictures, this is an incredible series. I have the other two here, you might be able to see them. This world develops so subtly, but then you finish the series and you realize you're like literally a polarity from where you started. And you don't realize it because this book pulls you through so elegantly. It is so good. Again, I'm not really going to talk about this one because it's one of those ones I feel like you should just read. Don't watch the movie, it's not that good, but please read the books, it is so good. So, if you've made it this far and you've been on my channel before, my dishwasher is making really funny noises. So if you've been on my channel before, you probably realised that I haven't talked about a very special, very amazing, very best book I have ever read, because I've decided to do an overall category because I cannot put this book into any single category because it's so much more than any single title in this entire world. Obviously, I am talking about All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I have beaten the dead horse about this book. I cannot talk about it enough. I love this book so much. It's in the same caliber to me as Harry Potter and Skulduggery Pleasant, or maybe not Harry Potter, but definitely Skulduggery Pleasant. I love this book so much. I won't talk too much about it because I have talked about it a lot. If you want to see like a full actual synopsis of it, I talked about it a lot in my 2017 wrap up. It was my #1 book, so if you scroll to the end of that video you will hear me talk about it and rave about it and cry a little bit about it. But it follows two characters, Marie Law, who is a 16-year-old blind girl who is French, and Werner, who is the perfect Aryan German boy who is extremely intelligent and is drafted into this elite science academy. So it follows those two characters through the war and about how they kind of navigate their assigned roles. It's very good. The prose in this is just incredible. The character building, the world building, because Marie Law is blind. And so hearing her descriptions has changed me as a reader, a writer, a person. I love it. I can't recommend this enough. Go read it. Go read it. Even if you're not a fan of historical fiction, go read it. So that wraps up my favourite books of all time as of this present moment, which is the 3rd of January 2018. Yeah, that's so exciting to say. But I will see you guys in a similar video at the end of this year. But until then, or until I see you next, which maybe then, I don't have an uploading schedule, but until I see you next time, bye guys.